Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am very excited because we're going to do an in-depth review in Darcy Coates' latest novel, The Hollow Dead. Now, if you are unfamiliar with this book, this is book 4 in her Gravekeeper series. The Gravekeeper series began with the Whispering Dead, it's followed by the Ravenous Dead, and then the latest one is the Twisted Dead. I do have reviews on every single one of those books on my channel. So we're going to be diving into book 4 today. Again, latest release from Darcy Coates, but it is also part of a series. This video will not contain spoilers for this book, but it will contain spoilers for the series. So if you have not caught up on the series, I would suggest going back and watching my review on The Whispering Dead to see what the series is about, rather than just go through this one and have some of like the best moments of the books or of the series spoiled. But yes, I'm gonna read the back of the book real quick for y'all, because if you're still here, I'm assuming we already know the premise of the Gravekeeper series. And it is one of the only series that I absolutely love. I am not a series person, I really don't like it, and yet Darcy Coates can get me so invested in these characters and this plot line. And I have to pick up every single book every time it comes out. So yes, love that. Here we go. It says, she is their only hope. When Kira first woke alone in a strange forest, she remembered only 2 things: that she could speak with the dead, helping them move on from the mortal world, and that sinister mask-wearing men were hunting her. She had no idea what she'd done to earn their hatred, or what dangerous secrets she may have uncovered. Until now. Peeling back layer upon layer of the mystery surrounding her origins, Kira has finally learned the strange masked men work for Arctic, an organization profiting off spectral energy produced by hundreds of chained, tormented souls. Their goal is to spread their macabre cemeteries across the world, using the agony of the lost to extend their power and reach, and only Kira and her loyal group of friends can stop them. But there are still mysteries to uncover in Kira's foggy memories, and as she prepares to fight for the souls of the tormented dead, what she doesn't know about her own past may come back to haunt her. Okay. This is the book where we start to seriously get answers, and we start to seriously see things that I've wanted to happen since book 1 happen. Oh my god, guys, I am so excited. This was a 5-star read for me. I think this is my favorite book in the series, but yeah, I think it's my favorite book in the series so far. I am so thrilled with it. I will say it does kind of take a more fantastical turn in the narrative and explanations of what's going on, but it's not fantastical enough that it takes away from like the core essence of this kind of like ghost thriller series that we have. So this really picks up like just a couple weeks after where book 3 left off, when Kira, Mason, and Zoe finally do discover the Arctic graveyard. I really loved the concept of the Arctic graveyard. Book 3 I thought was probably one of the weaker books, because it is the book that kind of steps away from like the cozy narrative that we'd had in books 1 and 2. I felt like those were kind of isolated stories. You could have almost read them as standalones. Book 3 you can't. And like book 3 you do have the storyline with Dane Crispin kind of being continued from the previous books, but that kind of encompasses like its own little Kira helping somebody in distress with ghosts, and like getting ghosts to move on. Like that's kind of contained there, but then it extends to the larger narrative of the graveyard as the focus of the story. And I feel like with the other 2 novels, we have the storyline with Gavin being kind of the pivotal story for book 1, where we don't really focus on Kira's origins as much. It's kind of swept under the rug for the second book. And then you get kind of hints at it in book 2 when Kira goes to visit the hospital. But again, we're focusing mainly on like the concept of shades, and obviously shades play a huge part in book 3 with the graveyard. This book though, book 4, The Hollow Dead, we really do just primarily focus on who Arctic is, and by proxy who Kira is. We do have 2 little side stories about ghosts in which Kira is helping them move on. One that is a little bit pivotal to one of our main characters, and then another one that is just kind of like a nice little frame story for the beginning and end of the book. But it is less of that kind of like cozy hometown, it's less of that cozy small town vibe that we get from the first 2 books, and more rolling into like a large epic where we're finally getting answers to the questions that we've had since literally the first few pages of book 1. And I was really, really happy with it. I really liked how they really utilized Zoe in this book. Zoe is my favorite character in these novels, Zoe and Harry. And they really are kind of making Zoe less of the comedic relief and more of a really like hard-hitting player who, in my opinion, is just as useful and resourceful as Kira and Mason, if not more. Like, obviously, Mason has all of his medical experience and Kira can talk to ghosts, and has some kind of like weird background that we get some answers to that allows her and empowers her to be like this really like kind of strong, cunning individual. But Zoe has always just kind of been this like quirky character with like a love of conspiracy theories. And she becomes so much more actualized in this book, where I no longer see her as the comedic relief. She has these like funny moments, but her quirks start to become her like super strength. And I really, really loved that. Another thing that I'm really happy about with this book is Harry Kennard, who's kind of been this tangential side character since book one, is starting to play more and more of a serious role in the book. He does take on kind of the comedic relief that Zoe provided, but I really, really enjoyed him kind of being part of this like core four group, and I really hope Darcy Coates continues that, because I do think that Harry should be one of the main characters in this story at this point. And it seems like she could, at the end of this book, it seems like she could really go either way with his character. He could either fade back into the distance like he kind of did in book 3, because he was, again, sort of relevant in book 2, or he could stay a power hitter in book 5, which I would absolutely love. We also now have a concrete villain by the end of this book, which I'm really, really excited about. We get a lot of backstory on Kira. We get a lot of explanation into her like entire past, so you're gonna get all of those answers, to the point that I didn't leave the book having any unanswered questions anymore. I just wanted to read more of this story and kind of see the resolution to all of the conflicts that have now come up. I really, really, really enjoyed this. The setting I thought was really, really unique and fun. Instead of taking place primarily in Blighty, it does take place primarily at an Arctic facility, or Artec facility. I keep saying Arctic and that's wrong. An Artec facility, and I really like the creativeness that went into it. I loved how Darcy Coates explained it. I love pretty much the entire storyline to get to that point too. I thought it was really fun. I loved the reveal. I'll just say the reveal in the office. It's not a huge twist, and there's not enough build up for you to be like, oh my god, I didn't see that coming, but it is something that I was like, wow, that was really, really well done, and I'm glad that was included. And I thought that was really interesting, and I really do like how we're getting... Kira is starting to have more and more moral dilemmas that she's going to have to deal with, and she's becoming less and less of this like just cliche perfect character. And I'm really happy about that. I felt like she was just, and I never disliked Kira, but to me she was always the weakest character because she was just so morally perfect. And things happen in this book and she has to make a lot of tough decisions, and I'm really, really happy that we're adding all of this depth to her, because Mason and Zoe always had more complexity than Kira did, and not just because, you know, Kira didn't have a past that we knew of. But I really like how in book 4 we are seeing so much more of Kira being developed. We are getting a lot more out of Zoe. Zoe's going to face something really, really difficult and really, really tragic in this book, and I think it was handled very, very well, and it made a lot of sense for her character. And again, just kind of takes her out of the comedic relief role and really paints her as one of these strong, pivotal main characters, while still not losing who she is. She's still funny, she's still quirky, but I take her far more seriously than I did in book 1. And I do like how Harry kind of takes over for the comedic relief that is needed in this book, because it is a Darcy Coates book. It can't be all doom and gloom. It has to still be cozy and happy and have that like warm, fuzzy ending in it. And it does have a warm, fuzzy ending in it. Obviously, it's not the conclusion to the book. I think there's going to be 5 in this series. I'm really hoping there's like 7, because I could read this series all day. These characters are so fun. I want it to be a movie. Like, I just imagine as a movie or a TV series, it would be so much scarier than the book, because the imagery that Darcy Coates can create is so disturbing, and yet you don't really realize it reading a book, right? Like, it's that concept that it's so much easier to be scared by movies and TV than it is to be scared by books. Because sometimes I have to sit and think about, like, what I just read, and I'm like, wow, that was actually a terrifying concept with, like, just terrifying visuals. And because it's, like, a Darcy Coates book, I just kind of, like, happily read it and being like, I know everything's gonna turn out okay. Like, I could just see this being so terrifying. Like, the shades and the Arctic graveyards are so monstrous. And so I'm very happy to see where this is going. I really, really love the concept of Arctic making clean energy out of spirits. I think it's a really unique concept. I think it's very timely. I think it makes a lot of commentary on, like, the world today without shoving it down your throat, which is something that I've had a lot of issues with in, like, the horror narratives recently. I feel like a lot of people are struggling to veil their critiques on society and critiques on how the world is working by just being so blatantly obvious in their metaphors. And I feel like Darcy Coates is doing a really, really good job of, like, really taking a stance on certain opinions without it being so obvious. Like, it's not until you finish the book and you sit back and think about, like, what you just read that you're like, oh wow, that was really, like, a very open critique on, like, global warming and, like, the climate crisis and, like, what people will do in, like, late stage capitalism. Like, it really is in there, but you don't necessarily understand it when you're reading it. And that's the type of subtle metaphor that I really, really enjoy in horror, and I think she's doing such a great job with this. And I haven't been the biggest fans of some of Darcy Coates' other latest releases. I didn't love Dead of Winter, I didn't love Gallows Hill, I didn't love The Haunting of Lee Harker, but without fail, I love this series, and The Hollow Dead was by far my favorite. I'm so relieved that we're finally getting answers. My only complaint is that I just really wish that Kira would go to, like, a Target and buy clothes so she's not, like, constantly in like a Christmas cat sweater. I feel like that's just one of those things that was, like, very funny in the first book, and now I think she's been in Blighty for, like, maybe, like, a year. Like, I know she doesn't make much money, but please, for the love of God, go and buy, like, a basic black tee, because I just can't imagine her constantly doing all these, like, crazy things that she's doing in, like, these goofy hand-me-down clothes. So that's just one of the things that I think is, like, really, really, really being nitpicky with this story. But I am so, so excited for this series. I can't wait to see the next one. I can't wait to see where it goes. And yeah, if you're a huge fan of Zoe and you're a huge fan of Harry the way I am, you're really, really, really going to enjoy this book. It's fantastic. And just, I hope she keeps writing them. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because, again, I am not a series girl. I really only read this and, like, the XX series and I guess the Indian Lake trilogy. And it's only because I discovered the books when book 1 came out. So not a big series girl, but, like, I am huge, huge, huge fan of the Gravekeeper series, and I don't want it to end. I'm so happy with it. Anyways, 5 stars, absolute 5 stars. But that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, if you enjoy my videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. I try to post every Monday and Thursday and sometimes on Saturdays, and I will catch you all in the next one. Mwah.